energy. They didn't think it through. Now, the other part of this problem is that while they're pushing global warming and telling us can't eat meat, we should be eating bugs to, make the world safe from global warming, it's getting cold. It's definitely getting colder. And the snowfall has been increasing in North America for the last 20 years. There are charts on the net produced by reputable research institutes that show snow coverage has been increasing for a long time. That's the problem we face now. Every year we face more snow. New York City, for example, has had, in the last 10 years, has had its 5 biggest blizzards. Just in the last 10 years. New York City, they've been keeping weather records for a long time. But they got clobbered here a couple years ago. They may get clobbered again this year.
What about Boston? Again, they broke their all-time record for snow that went back into the late 1700s. I believe it was 1793 or 1792 was when they originally first started keeping records back then. But this last year, that pile of snow didn't even melt off until July. That's how big it was from city snow removal.
That's right. That whole eastern corridor, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, they've all had record cold, record snow, and it's not going to stop. These weren't freak weather events. This is the new normal. It's going to be cold and snowy. Hopefully on Election Day this year in the States, it will snow like crazy. I've just got my fingers crossed for that. So people will begin to see that they're being lied to. And the guys that have been doing the lying need to go. They need to go. We need a whole new scientific and political approach. First of all, the science has got to be real. Next time somebody says to you, hey, climate change, that's causing all these storms, just ask them, well, where's the science? There isn't any. When the IPCC first got rolling, they had panels of experts. And one of their experts was a guy named Christopher Landsea. That's an easy name to remember because his expertise was tropical hurricanes. Christopher Landsea. And they said, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to say that hurricanes and storms are caused by global warming. He says, no, they're not. They're not. There's no evidence for that. They said, well, that's what we're going to say in our report, is that these storms are caused by CO2, carbon dioxide-induced global warming. And he said, well, I can't go along with that. I quit. And they went ahead and did it anyway. They do things contrary to their own advisors' advice.
There's a new news article that just came across the wire yesterday. James Hansen, a NASA scientist, is now claiming with a group of 11 of his peers that it is now the warmest it has been in 115,000 years. And then I look at that and I say, you know what? We were in the middle of a full-blown, full glaciation, full ice age where 2 miles of ice was over most of North America. And he's trying to count that into the time. And now he's saying, of course it's going to be warmer now than in a full-blown glaciation event. And this is the kind of data and the kind of science that's coming out to prove that it's warmer today than it was in the past. And that really makes no sense to me how this person would even get print time for that on a major news network and then syndication and sent all through AP, it said.
Well, I'm sorry to say that the news media is presently owned by about 6 very powerful entities who also have an agenda. And I think that that agenda has finally crawled out from under its rock, and it's called globalism. These people are not interested in the American people, the Canadian people, or any of these little people that pay their taxes. They're interested in something bigger. James Hansen used to work for NASA, and he made a fool of himself with the crazy pronouncements that he came out with. NASA and NOAA have been caught red-handed on a couple of occasions doctoring temperature records so they can say, oh, hottest year ever. Well, You know what they did? They went back, they had the whole temperature record for the United States on computers. They just went back and lowered the temperatures 100 years ago. Just took the records and fiddled with them. And, of course, when it's colder 100 years ago, it's warmer now, isn't it? So it must have gotten hotter.
If I could say a couple of times, I think that's a little bit low on the count of how many times they've manipulated data. Even today, the September temperatures that come out, what they do on the monthly, and they say it's the hottest year ever, what they do is they always routinely leave out the southern oceans in their temperature maps. So this year, all around Australia, it's 5 degrees C below normal water temperatures, and across mainly the entire southern oceans, it's below normal from anywhere from 2 to 5 C. And they just conveniently left that entire data set out, missed the entire southern oceans, and then what's left is basically the equatorial bands going up to about 45 north or 45 south, and everything else is gone. There's no Arctic, there's no Antarctic areas, and then they claim it's the warmest year ever on the entire planet. But if they were to truly add in the data set just from this year down in the southern oceans, it's going to bring us back to about 0.4 C rise in temperature, which is nowhere even close to anything they've ever forecast. And again, we live in the real world, and if you make mistakes that large in a trading house on stocks, or if you're going to close any kind of deal, if you're a salesperson or anything in life where you're that wrong all the time, you're going to be fired from a real job. But these people are wrong. Again and again, they've been wrong for 20 years, making the same bogus forecasts that have never come to fruition, not even once, and we still are being fed this over and over again that we should believe them and follow the policies, and it just doesn't make sense. Really, it's almost like some kind of chrysalis we're broken through some other alternative dimension. It's crazy the way that it's being shoved down our throats so much to accept these policies that damage our economies.
That's absolutely right. And the guys that are promoting this, they're running with billions of dollars of private fund money. They're running with your tax dollars. Americans are paying not only for the satellites up there that are reporting there has been no global warming for 20 years, they're paying for the people on the ground to say it's the warmest year ever. American taxpayers are getting ripped off big time. So they know what the facts are, but they lie about it. They lie about it because there's a lot of people in power whose friends are making money on global warming. Global warming is now a $1.5 trillion a year industry. There's all kinds of money being spent on global warming. But there is no global warming. So you figure that out. It always comes back to follow the money.
And we're wasting precious time to prepare for this event because, as in your book, you've gone back in history and detailed some of the previous solar minimums and what had happened with society and breakdowns of food, the actual breakdown of law, the breakdown of the civilization in itself. And we are wasting time while we keep getting told it's warming. We could have been using these last at least 2 years with strong information showing a cooling trend on total solar irradiance declines, as well as the cosmic ray increases, the magnetosphere on our Earth declining, the intensity of the sunspots declining, the solar wind declining. There's just so many indicators showing it's cooling, and we're repeating a cycle where we just wasted 2 years to get our food preparation in play. Because we need to revamp our food growing strategies to feed this present population.
You're correct about that. The food is the biggest issue for the average person. Food prices are going to go sky high over the next 5 years. Right now, we have a glut of grain, in part because of the increased carbon dioxide, that evil carbon dioxide that they refer to as emissions or carbon. It is now helping to create more food, but those crops will be impacted by early and late frosts, snowfall, rain, floods. We've seen the province of Alberta here in Canada just get hammered year after year with floods and rain and snow when they least needed it for the grain harvest. But you know, people can look out for themselves. The sooner you stop listening to these government poobahs who are lying to you, Take matters into your own hands. Grow a garden.
You wonder how long it'll be before they start interfering with people who are growing gardens, because we've seen instance and instance again, especially in the last 5 years. It seems to be a ramp up of anybody who's producing raw milk or any kind of when they get to a certain size of growing and then going to farmers markets and selling, they seem to get shut down at that point. And I don't know why. If they're trying to promote self-sufficiency and renewables, yet somebody gets so good at it that they have excess, then they're shut down.